Wow. Again, it's no wow for you, dear viewer. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. But that really took a very long time to start. I think we all had sharp intake of breath and everyone was turning slightly blue, even Bruce. G'day to everybody, especially the people that have been waiting in the chat before we started. It's extraordinary. Thank you very much. And I'm very sorry, Creative Sky Media, that you're missing Love Island, whatever that means for you. So there's Bruce, there's Nicola, and there's Ian. Ian's been with us before, of course. Ian Hudson of Bradford. So where shall we start? Oh, I know where we shall start. We shall start with Bruce and your ranty video. I have a feeling you have... I don't know. I hope you have caught people's attention in America, and the reason that you've caught their attention is the potential threat to 336, and something might happen. I see both Flight Test and Rotor Riot are considering standing up groups now. That would be a good thing. Have you had much feedback about your 336 ranty video, Bruce?
No, no one said a thing. Actually, no, there's been over 1,000 comments. I forget, and I don't know, there's a lot of action on that video because it is something that's really, really important. We've been saying it here for ages that the commercial players are going to move in and seize control of that airspace, and it's going to be a pay-to-fly situation. And we could see in that committee hearing that it's exactly what everybody is aiming for. And the thing that really just made me so sad was when one of the committee members said, "Is there anyone who is opposed to the revocation of 336? And the room was silent. There was not a word to be heard. So they were all in favour of getting rid of the protection, and it is the protection that the hobby has, and throwing that out in favour of a few vested interests with lots of money in the back pockets. And the reason I made the video was because I was asking, where's the AMA? Now, it wasn't necessarily asking, why isn't the AMA in that room? Because that was an invitation only situation. But where's the AMA's voice? I mean, that hearing was held on the 11th of this month. I made the video on the 22nd of the month, and the AMA had been totally silent through that entire period. They had not alerted members to what's going on and the risk that they face, and they haven't said to members, don't worry, we're working in the background to protect you. There'd been nothing at all. And then I put a video up, and within 24 hours, the AMA has posted a statement saying, oh, you know, we're on top of this and we're doing the other. Why are they reactive and not proactive? They're fighting some really big enemies, or you'd call them enemies of the hobby, really big groups who are well funded, well organized, very smart. You can't be reactive in that situation. You've got to be proactive. You've got to be thinking one step ahead of them. And also the only people, or the only weapon that the AMA has, because when it comes to checkbook lobbying, they are completely outclassed. The only tool they have is public opinion. Why aren't they going to the public and presenting the case for the hobby? You know, that it's a healthy outdoor pursuit, it's educational, it's family friendly, you know, and that the public needs to get behind it and preserve it for posterity. Why aren't they doing that? But there's no, I don't see stories in the media which are basically AMA press releases. They have no connection with the media. You know, oh, there's been the Nationals, they've been busy doing the Nats and there's videos and things, but there may not be a Nationals in a few years' time if they don't get their fingers out of their backsides and address the real problems. And that is the fact that we're going to be regulated out of the airspace. Well, not necessarily true. We're going to find that there'll be a few little fields here and there that are designated for model flying. So yeah, the AMA probably has something to win from this. You know, at Muncie, Indiana, it'll be the only place in America you can go and fly your model. So the AMA will put a big big ticket booth up at the gate. You've got to join or pay money to come in and fly. That's great for the AMA, but it's not great for the hobby. And so I know there's been a few AMA members have been quite angry at me because I've misrepresented things and the AMA is doing this, that, and the other. And I've put it to them, why aren't they telling the members? One of the key jobs of the AMA is to keep its membership informed, because an informed group is far more powerful than one that's operating in a sphere of silence and out of ignorance. But they're not doing that one basic fundamental step. And I think this shows that the whole situation has changed. That as the FAA said, you know, the airspace has changed, the whole environment's changed. And the AMA is no longer just a group that promotes the hobby and educates and so forth. It is a group that actually has to go out and fight for the hobby. And that's the one thing they don't seem to be doing. And in the era of social media and so forth, perception is reality. They may be doing a heap behind the scenes, but if we don't know about it, then the perception is they're not doing anything. They need to address that. It's a PR issue. So yeah, some of the AMA said you should never have made that video. And I said, no, I should have, because finally you guys got off your bum and done something, even if it's only just to inform your members. So yeah,
well, yeah, I mean,
a bit of a Ooh.
Even if, let's say, for argument's sake, you're completely wrong, which obviously, Sir Bruce, you never have been ever. But let's say you were completely wrong, but at least then they should be reacting and laying out what is going on. You know, they should be saying, well, actually, we're doing this, and this is why it's wrong. And they're not doing that, are they? Good day, Louis. Very, very good to see you.
I'm having so much fun hearing all these rantings from Bruce, because, come on, Bruce, do like Madonna. Come on and leave to Portugal, because we have a law now in Portugal. It has been just published 2 days ago, and it's there. We'll get some months until we get it in full effect. Has been published on the official journal. So now we just have to wait for them to get a registration site. And you'll see me on that registration site, because if you search for someone on that registration site, you can find them. So, GDPR.
Oh, that's very nice.
They've told us that drones would ruin our privacy, and there's proof.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. We'll have to register on the site that is still to be done. And that information will be public. So if you need my phone number, just go to the Portuguese Aviation Authority and find me. Thank you.
Okay, isn't that supposed to be illegal under GDPR?
I don't know. I still have to ask their lawyers.
Will there be a link to your
if you
website?
don't agree for your personal information to be uploaded there, that should be kind of illegal.
Yeah, the thing is, if I want to know who is the owner of a car and I give the license plates, I don't have any site in Portugal to do that. But now, if you have a drone, you'll know.
Yeah, I think you
That's
can take
good.
that to court pretty successfully.
Do you think anyone is going to fight in court the government?
I don't think, but I think that's outside of European regulation now.
I'm
It
talking
just can't be done.
Bradford or Brussels, not local.
I believe that this is not only Brussels. The thing is, we'll get these privacy issues very fast, because the GDPR rules are quite dramatic, and it's there on the law. I still have to ask their legal department how it is, because there are other countries that are using this same scheme. So you go to the Danish authorities, and there's a section there that you can find and know who are the drone operators in a certain area.
I think this is a gross invasion of personal privacy or something, and that's what GDPR was supposed to protect, and now we just put it out there because you're supposed to be flying a drone. Come on, you have a better chance to kill a few people while taking a ride in your car than flying the drone.
Now,
why the hell?
This is a good example, because the Danish guys already have it.
That doesn't make it right.
I know, exactly. But that's how
Nicola, do you have a phone directory in your country? Do you have a phone book? Do you have a phone book in your country?
I think there still might be a phone book, but
Isn't that an invasion? I could look up your name and get your phone number. There's no difference.
No, you can't. I can give you my full name. The phone books are dead. Since the mobile phone? But no, the law is in effect. Below 250 grams, no registration. 900 grams registration. From 250 to 900 grams, just registration. And for now, apparently, it's free. And afterwards, there might be a fee. And the members of model aviation clubs have a 50% discount. And above 900 grams, registration and civil liability insurance. If you get caught, if you're Nikolai, and you get caught without being registered, the minimum fine is 2,000 to 3,500 euros, and the vehicle can be apprehended to the local authorities, and the fine is split between 60% for the government, 20% for the guy that gets you, and 20% for the authority in charge.
Okay,
I thought we won World War II.
I think this is gonna become very interesting over there. People are just gonna run around pointing fingers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, who's gonna get the 20% for Nicola? I'm pointing first.
I'm pointing.
I'm pointing.
Well,
Nicola.
don't forget, I'm not flying under Portuguese.
No, but there's something great, because if you come to Portugal for less than 1 month, you don't have to register. I'm glad I can speak English and French. If a policeman comes to me, I say, "Oui, monsieur, je ne sais pas. Qu'est-ce qui se passe?" I'll speak French and make myself as a tourist.
You're not pulling our legs here, are you? Within your regulatory framework, there is a 20% commission for somebody that dobs other people.
For the authorities, I can get your translation. There's a split on the fine, which is 20%, 20%, and 60%.
This is ridiculous.
Oz by Drone makes a brilliant point there. Just point at yourself and get yourself 20%. Oh, hang on, but that's only just a 20% discount.
Yeah, but you have to pay
20% back. Yes.
Portugal, land of narcs.
It's 60% for the government, 20% for the entity that writes the notice, and 20% for the entity that files the process.
Well,
I could never see that being abused. Never see that would never.
Yeah.
But
that's a brilliant opportunity for the counter UAS guys. If you sit there with your radar setups, you can sit there all day long and shell in your.
By the way, when you register your drone, they'll give you a tag that you'll have to permanently mount on your vehicle, and if the tag is not on the vehicle, you pay the minimum, the fine from 2,000 to 3,500. I'm just saying the fines for normal persons. For companies is more. If the tag is in bad shape, you also pay the fine. What else?
So this sounds to me like just don't put the tag on this. You just leave the tag off, because you're going to be hung for a sheep as a lamb. So if you don't have a tag, they can't trace it back to you. So you might as well just fly without a tag.
So that's it.
Remember, kids, don't try this at home. Recommendations from Bruce Simpson are not recommendations from us.
Side of the planet. So please, if you're listening to this in Portugal, don't do as he says.
Yeah. Louis is going to dob me in for a conspiracy now. Get his 20%.
I'll get the lawyer from ANAC, which is our local FAA. But okay, given these strange quirks of the law, we have a law. It's clear. It's within the boundaries of what EASA has been proposing. It's quite benevolent, the law for foreigners. So if you come here, Gary, you can fly your drone for a month. At 1 month and 1 day, I'll be pointing at you, Gary.
So what's the good news? Are you coming to the good news out of all of this?
The good news is now we have a regulatory frame. Before that, we had a kind of thing. But there's still one law that there's something very important, because some local authorities and regional authorities started to charge and forbid drones to fly because they were considering the drones as small aircraft. And they usually ask for license fees to overflow certain areas. And the new law makes it very clear. This is a drone, and no other regulations can prevent the drones from operating. So there are some nice touches on the new law.
So they're definitely not calling them aircraft.
They're not calling it an aircraft. And the definitions are the same, more or less the same, given the translation. That of the EASA recommendations from February. So this is what we are going to take in Europe. Get ready, Nikolai.
Well, it's good. It's good that they're not calling them aircraft, because that's exactly the problem with 336 and dropping hobby protections. Is it will bring. And the other thing that's not being really understood in America, and fortunately keeps getting framed with the word drones, it's all model aircraft. Because forget the idea that it's just white things made in China. It's all model aircraft. And I mean, there's lots of rumors that there's a push to have to start putting it into place airworthiness standards, and that push is to start in November. A lot of chatter going on about that in the background, and
we already have that for over 25 kilos.
Sure, yes, and yeah, but not the smaller stuff. And yeah, isn't it 150 pounds in America? I think, whatever that is in kilos, but 70 for 75, something like that.
I don't know what pound. About 70 kilos,
something
around
like
that. 70,
something like that. Yeah. So not
okay.
Not a bit.
Hold on. So that means that people flying F3A, all these
everything,
class,
everything,
racing planes that literally cannot. I don't know how you can think of this as a drone.
No, it's everything.
They also have to register and take out insurance on those planes that get flown, like literally within every law written ever about these things up to 100 meters and never out of line of sight, and only in certain places.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce, but that's about the size of it, isn't it? But just jump in if I'm taking this down the wrong path.
No idea, mate.
Oh, you fucker.
Come on, Bruce. Have you arranged your passport to come here?
Of course, Louis. I'm going to move to Portugal so I can enjoy all those commissions. It's wonderful.
No. Because, come on, Bruce. You're the guy that flies below 250 grams. You won't even need to register. So you'll be anonymous.
Yet. Won't have to register yet. This will be a sinking lid policy. In fact, here in New Zealand, they removed the 100-gram sort of cutoff point because the thing was that as the technology improves, the capabilities will increase. Therefore, there's no point in having a lower cutoff number, because it'll have to be revised as the technology improves. Seriously, it's not about safety; it's about control.
Yeah. In the comments, people are thanking you for that. I would never thank Bruce. Saying thank you. You sure got everyone riled up with that video, Bruce. And I saw a thank you comment earlier as well. But it's true, and hopefully, as I say, hopefully this anger lasts longer than a week. You've got to get it together over there, dear Americans.
Trust me. Let me tell you about a scenario. I'm sorry, Bruce. Just a second. Especially in Portugal, I think this anger might linger on for a bit, because I just keep imagining the following scenario. You go to fly somewhere and you have to be there all day long. And just imagine every half an hour, a new group of people is going to point at you, and a new group of policemen are going to come and check if you actually have license, and if you're actually allowed to fly there, and if the drone you're flying is registered properly according to its weight, size, blah, blah, whatever. Just imagine how that is going to affect your flight day and your mood at the end of that.
No, that's good.
It's a very valid point, isn't it?
That will prevent lots of people from flying. That is very good.
Yeah, that's the way to kill an industry. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not. Those that have to do it by pure fun or by work-related issues, they'll have an easier life.
Really? Having to explain every half an hour that you actually have a license, might as well print it on a T-shirt and
come on.
Wear that.
I just get myself an intern, and the intern is on my back and has the paperwork and shows it to the guys.
Yeah, that sounds so cheap and easy to do. Yeah,
interns are cheap.
Was it poor millennials have to work zero I can't remember the term. No money, very little to no money. But being an old man, I don't know about that. There we are. Thank you, Ian. And yeah, come on, Ian, you can jump in with your nonsense as well. All this. I'm just going to go to the comments a second. Osby Drone from FAA Sam Dictionary, recent statement from them making it clear that no one else.
We want to see the papers.
No one else can control airspace. That's what Amazon, Google, and Facebook still have a hat in the ring. They are all at this big meeting. You have to watch Bruce's video if you haven't seen it.
You're forgetting Intel.
They're not so far in because their man was head of it, but then he left Intel, so he's not head of it anymore. Then Smooth Virus saying USA hobbyists need to stop blaming each other and organize. Exactly right. Forget the drone word. Forget. And that's why I'm seeing a lot of people commenting saying, "Oh, well, it's okay. It's only affect those drone folks." No, it's everybody.
I'd go beyond USA and say the global community has organized. Yeah, to forget about USA, they just sort of one little group. We need to have a global organization. So we've got numbers measured in millions, not just hundreds of thousands. And then we have the person that speaks on behalf of that organization carries a lot of weight. At the moment, as I said, we're a sea of individuals. No one cares.
You don't look that fat to me. Yeah. But
wake up. That's wishful thinking. The organization I've seen that could do it, and as the way to do it and as the media projection to do it is the boys at Flight Test.
Well, yeah, they're standing up, and so is the other one, Rotor Riot. They're standing up and thinking about it. And I suppose we have to think when we say an industry, and it's just those in the industry that want commercial regulations. Hobbyists should not forget there was the hobbyist builder and flyer that pioneered this technology. Exactly, Richard. And what this will do, and what I've so often said and ranted is, you're knocking. Well, all of us, I'm sure, except for Nicola's not old enough to be. Well, no, yes, old enough to be flying with 5, but we were all flying or wanting to fly model airplanes. When we were littlands, and aero modeling was a great way into aviation for a lot of people. And you're going to kill this, kill it flat if aspirations. I suppose children will always find a way of getting their flights in, and that's what I find appalling, really. Well, what's the size of the industry? What is the size of the industry? What sort of money are we talking about here? If Hobby King and everything goes away, is there enough of a compelling don't kill an industry that is size X, or does that not matter?
Have you seen the size of the defense industry in the USA? And of course, drones are a big part of defense, or will be a big part of defense. I think it's the single largest industry in America, isn't it? So the hobby industry is nothing. It just doesn't even figure on the radar. No one gives a damn if the hobby industry disappears, because you've got the McDonnell Douglases and all the others. They're the people that are employing all these Americans and contributing to the national gross domestic product and exporting products. They're the people, they're the groups, they're the organizations that really count from a political perspective. So the hobby is banging. The only ally the hobby has is public opinion, and we're not doing enough to carry that and build that up so that the politicians, the senators, and that have to deal with an angry constitution or angry constituents who say, hey, we want our hobby. That's the only way you'll get it done. Money speaks, but ultimately these people have to get re-elected. And if they piss off the people enough, they're going to lose their position of power, their gravy train. So they will respond to public opinion. But we as a community have to foster that public opinion, get the public on our side, which is interesting because the media has, I don't know, am I reading too much into this, but is it just coincidence that the media has spent so much time trying to make the hobby look evil? Is that being driven by something that we don't know about? Because previously the hobby was wonderful. The media loved the hobby, and now they're all dead set against this. And is there something going on underground that we don't know about? Because obviously, from the industry's point of view, if they can alienate the hobby from public opinion, then they can win. But if we have public opinion on our side, they can't win. So we need to think about what's going on. It may not all be totally obvious to us.
I can't remember if I sent you a link to it, Bruce. I meant to this week. A lot of this stems back to, I think I posted in some of the comments to this, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's drones, it's DJI, it's just happened, it's a new problem, a new issue. A lot of this stems back to was it 2006 or 2007, there was a technology demonstration to the Department of Defense and other people, and Patrick was on it. It's Patrick's fault, we can blame Patrick now. And they saw their first, some of the DoD guys saw their first model jet, and when they saw, oh, actually no, it's Bruce's fault, we can go back to Bruce now. And when they saw the jet, they said they wanted them grounded. They wanted model jets grounded in America. And then about 2 years later, I think it was about 2010, Furdus someone or other wanted to fly some, I should have a link ready or something, thought about something like this, was going to fly some C4 into some building in Washington. I can't remember what it was. And it turned out that the FBI had bought the C4, bought the jet, and done everything, completely fitted him up. And
it was an electric EDF model. It was only an EDF, an F-36 Sabre or something, I think, the picture and so forth.
That's what it was. That's what it was, yes. But it was a complete fit-up.
Yeah, back in 2003, I did my cruise missile project, and I did it to alert the security organizations, things, to the fact that the threat of effectively a drone against soft targets in the USA was very real. And at the time, I got widely poo-pooed for it. Oh, no. No one was interested in the fact that here was a major threat to safety and security, because there was no money in that. There was no money into that stage. Saving the public isn't the primary concern. Making money is the primary concern. Now that we've commercialized this technology and there's money to be made, suddenly, oh no, these are a massive threat. We've got to deal with it. The threat is really not much greater now than it was in 2003, because I did a proof of concept. You could build a craft that could travel over 100 miles autonomously and hit a target carrying a great deal of explosives. At the time, no, we don't care. Now that you can buy yourself a drone that can carry, what, 500 grams of explosive, suddenly that's a big deal. It shows you that the commercial pressures, you gazump everything. Forget about safety, forget about security. It's all about the money.
Just unpack that again for me. Just explain your thinking then about how that commercial. Is it because just unpack that again for me, Bruce, please.
Well, back in 2003. There was no money to be made from this. If protecting the country from a perceived threat from drones, there was no money in that. You know, there's no way that McDonnell Douglas or any other big players could turn that threat into a way to generate revenue, right? There was no money in it. So they just ignored it. No one cared about it. And my Christmas, I think it was, who cares? Now we move forward 15 years and suddenly there is a huge amount of money to be made with UAS countermeasures and the UAS technology itself and owning that airspace. So suddenly now they're really interested, not because there's a greater threat, because really there isn't. It's because there is a greater amount of money to be made.
Yes, and Smooth Virus has got the right answers in the comments there for those following along at home. Go ahead. Sorry, Louis.
And I forgot something that we all like a lot, and I'm sure that Bruce will come up with this new blockchain technology, which is at the moment they don't have the electronic ID tag to append to the models. They have the regular tag, but they are going to transition to electronic ID tags. So Bruce,
have they put a specification for it up yet? Because France has abandoned theirs. So
no. And let's see what comes from that. And if it's EASA, let's see what US also comes, because there are work groups around the FAA trying to come up with the standards. And let's see what in Europe they are going to do. I really need more information about the few of the details of the new law.
So why are we going to need electronic tags on drones which have never, recreational multi-rotor drones have never killed anybody, never been used for terrorist attacks on domestic targets. Yet we don't have electronic tags on trucks and cars. Oklahoma City bombing, London, cars driven through, knocking people down, killing them. So why are we tagging drones but not cars and trucks, which have been proven to be a huge threat and have taken countless lives through terrorist actions and a threat to security? Why is this focus on drones? It's like it's totally unprecedented. You take the risk and you look at it compared to other things, and suddenly, even though the risk on drones is proven small, it's a target.
You seem like a bad actor. You want to prove that the bad actor is going to implement an electronic tag on his drone? Come on, you're being a bad actor now.
No, you're right. I mean, people will not. I mean, somebody wants to use a drone for bad purposes is not going to register it. They're not going to put an electronic tag on it. They're going to just go and steal someone else's. It's simple. That's what happens now with cars.
Yeah, there's provision in the law. If you get your drone stolen or sell it to someone, you have to notify the authorities of the transmission of the drone.
So if someone steals your drone and you don't realize it and they commit a crime with it, you could be liable.
Yes, that's it. It's the same as your car. If someone steals your car and runs over some poor pedestrian down the street, you're liable, and your insurance will come after you.
And research here, people hate drones, peeping Tom drones, and everyone thinks RC are all peeping Tom perverts. We know, Bruce. But anyway, good luck getting the public behind us. I think you could, just about every astronaut was an error modeler. I think you could.
I think they're all peeping Toms then.
Well, they've got the ultimate view, haven't they?
Yeah, there's telescopes on the space station for a reason. The thing is, but where is the constant flow of stuff coming out of the AMA showing, children with their parents in a grassy meadow and a little model circling high in the sky above, and the stuff that I remember from my childhood? Where is that? I mean, we've got to countermeasure the spying pervy drone terrorist thing, and the only way to do that is to go out there and win the hearts of the public. But the AMA is doing nothing to do that. I've never seen anything from the AMA that tries to do that, other than perhaps on their website. But the average person on the street isn't going to go and seek out the AMA website for no reason at all. They need a catalyst. They need to be sort of made aware of this. And instead of spending money on lobbyists, because I gather the AMA spent a fortune on lobbyists over this whole thing, they're never going to compete at that level. But the checkbook lobbying will never be their forte. They don't have enough money. They need to go out, as say, the public is the people they need to convince, and they're not doing a good job of that. They're not even talking to their members.
Yeah, and remember, we're not just talking about something with a camera on board now. We're talking about that model glider on a slope. We're talking about the simple little electric park flyer.
Actually, there's some videos on YouTube of aero modeling in the 1930s and 40s. It is brilliant. It shows the American nationals, and it shows how car dealerships like Chevrolet and Plymouth were sponsoring kids to go to the nationals, and I think Chrysler sponsored the entire nationals, and how it was seen as the average little kid building his toy model taken. It was a wonderful thing. It was to be encouraged, and the major corporations are pouring money into this family-friendly activity. It was like the hobby to end all hobbies, and that's gone now. I mean, why don't we recover that, get that sort of culture back into things? And then people will look at a kid flying a model aircraft in a park and go, is it a terrorist? They won't. They'll say, oh, look, he's having fun and he's enjoying himself. We need to do that. We're dropping the ball. It's up to us, and we're not doing a thing.
Hey, Bruce, look at this. An RC commands with sticks, and you can use it to control a plane. But it's a virtual plane. That's what we want the kids now these days to have. Just want them to play safe and with no risk.
That's a good point, Louis. One of the problems we've got, and I've spoken to a lot of parents, they hate the fact their kids spend all weekend inside in front of the screen playing on games on the computer. They hate that. What's the hobby?
Now,
the hobby is about getting outdoors.
You can go outside with one of these.
No, you can't sit in the sun.
No, don't worry.
Any hobby that gets kids away from the screen outside on a sunny day has got to be a good thing, and parents realize that. We need to be pitching this to the parents of the nation, saying, let's get your kids outside on a wholesome activity instead of sitting in front of a PlayStation burning their eyeballs out.
come on, you cannot go to the sun because otherwise you'll get cancer. Come on, it's all a matter of choice. That's why I think that this is a lost battle for the modelers. Modelers will be thrown to the required and approved flying areas for model airplanes, and this fad of drones will come down because lots of people that go and buy a Mavic or a DJI Phantom or even the Inspires are lured to come to this as a way of making some quick buck, doing some aerial photographs or some aerial shots with video. And this will make them think twice because they have an investment of a couple of thousand or hundreds of euros or dollars, and they won't make very far if they go out and charge 25 or 30 or 50 euros or dollars per picture or per video.
Well, that's happening anyway. That the high value price points have gone. There is, unless you bring it as
no, it's not, because if you want to rent a pilot in Denmark, which has a similar law as we have in Portugal, their rates are on the thousands.
Sure, but then you'll find another way, and to get it done. It depends what needs to be done, but largely the race to the bottom for pricing, it has happened and it is happening, and yeah, it's not the big money earner that everyone thought it was going to be. Look, we've ranted on for 37 minutes on the negative topic.
I was all positive. Come on, Gary, I was all positive.
You've given up, Louis. You've thrown the hobby under a bus. Oh, you can't do anything. Perhaps one thing the hobby should be doing.
Let's get a T-shirt. Louis did it. Louis threw us up.
We should be saying, why isn't the AMA saying it's not a drone? Why aren't they pushing for the differentiation between model aircraft and drones? Because that's the real problem, isn't it? The hobby hasn't changed. It's a new aspect that's come in, which is not. The vast majority of traditional modelers are not out there flying their Phantoms at airports. So why isn't the big push then to say it's not a drone? You know, we should all be wearing T-shirts saying this is not a drone, and to make the public aware that the hobby is not the same as the drone flying. You know, the camera drones. That's one thing we could do.
You know, it needs to say this is not an aeroplane. This is not an aircraft, because that's where it's going. If you get, you know, that nomenclature of
the one good thing about being classified as an aircraft is that the local authorities don't have that control over you. You know, they can't charge you to fly over their ground. That's except in New Zealand, where the CAA has possibly unlawfully ceded control of the airspace for drones to property owners, which has created a complete and utter disaster, in my opinion. But elsewhere in the world, because they're designated as aircraft, you can't shoot them down, and you cannot stop where they fly.
Yeah,
unless you're the FAA or the authority.
There is a Richard says I joined the AMA as a membership includes insurance coverage, which is a good thing. Flying, and the AMA is a good thing. It teaches training. You have fields full of old duffers who, as grumpy as they might be, there a lot of them.
Come on, Gary, look at your beard, mine and Bruce's. Come on.
Yeah, but it's
shut up.
Three beards.
The national body's insurance in New Zealand only covers you if you're flying at approved flying sites. So it's not a general insurance. It's only an insurance if you're flying at the flying fields and things. I don't know about other countries, but yeah, it's so it's not, the insurance is not necessarily that valid for a lot of people, because as I say, the hobby's changed. We don't fly only in flying fields anymore. I like flying, you know, in abandoned places and through trees and things.
Bruce, why do you want to be so reckless? Go to the
I'm not reckless. I've got a pile of wrecks.
No, go to your local flying field, a local club flying field. You'll be welcomed by everyone.
Well, the irony is, Louis, and I've said it before, the only place I can legally fly a drone in this town is at the airport.
See, you just have to get your brevet out of the closet and renew it.
So is it safety or is it
pilot's
control?
license? Get your pilot's license.
No, have you seen how I fly? I wouldn't dare go up in a plane I was flying.
No,
Wow.
absolutely. Look, come on, let's move to some positive use cases in Bradford, in the UK. In the UK, it's the NESTA. In fact, the Flying High Challenge from NESTA. I don't really understand it. Ian, you've been waiting very patiently there. I'm surprised you haven't joined in. NESTA Flying High Challenge. What's that all about, and what's happened in Bradford and around that? Was it covered around the country this week?
Yeah, it was on BBC National News with a nice positive story. So it was great to see the BBC and a positive story, which it was shot here in Bradford and it was shown around on the main breakfast news, which was good. A part of the reason I'm not been jumping in today, because obviously we're mainly talking about American, and things here are a little bit different. We have some of the same issues, but at least on this NESTA initiative, there's some positives. So NESTA is a charity. It's kind of innovation focused, and they were asked by the government to look at utilising drones in cities. So this competition came about where cities applied for it, and we chatted about it at the time. And I just thought cities that had a genuine drone interest would go for it, and you said no, they'll probably all go for it. And I think you're closer to being right. I think a lot of cities actually went for it in the end, but it was picked with 5, although technically it's slightly more, so it's more like regions. So we had obviously we've got Bradford, that's the city that I'm involved with, but there was Preston, there was Southampton, and it was the West Midlands and London. So those were the regions that were picked for the challenge. So what's happened in the last 6 months is NESTA's liaised with those cities. So it's a mixture of the public sector and obviously private sector businesses there involved with the local drone companies, and they've got feedback for use cases from that. So what they were asking was for each city to come up with a whole range of use cases, which were then gradually narrowed down over time. And then the idea was they were making sure that there wasn't an overlap, so that there's a difference in the use cases that the various cities have gone for. So in Bradford, it started off as disaster response. The city's working with West Yorkshire Fire Service. It will start on response to using drones to assist the fire service, i.e. being able, whereas at the moment they have a drone that they've been trialing, which obviously if you get to a fire or you're inspecting a site afterwards to collect evidence, you can use a drone for that. But it's pretty reactive at the moment, where you've got to have an operator and you've got to manually fly the drone around. So it was looking at taking that use case further, where the drone itself could be autonomous, long range, possibly fixed wing, and could actually go out there and beat the fire engine to the fire. For a few cases, actually, a lot of fires they attend are false alarms. So they're automated fire systems that are triggered by accident. And then you've got your whole fire crew turning away. At least if you had a drone there in advance, it can actually say, oh, wait a minute, it's a false alarm. They can stand down that crew and send them back, and maybe have some alternative arrangement for just double checking that it's a false alarm. But obviously, if it's a genuine fire, or it's like the more fires that we've been having recently that have been very large scale, it can get there beforehand, show the scale of the fire they're going to tackle, and then the crews can plan ahead so they know how many to send out of there and where to allocate them to tackle the fire best. So that's been the approach of getting use cases from the various cities. So London was medical delivery, West Midlands was traffic incident response, Preston was focusing on construction and regeneration, and in Southampton it was more medical deliveries, but that was across to the Isle of Wight. So it was a longer distance one. So you had medical deliveries in the urban area in London, which has its own challenges, and then a different challenge there for Southampton. So they've gone to the government with a report of over 200 pages detailing a range of use cases. And it was pointed out with the use cases, rather than thinking about drone deliveries or the commercial side, what's come out of this more is thinking about doing good for society with drones. Part of that was driven, I think, with having local authorities involved, because that's good in their mindset. But I think also there was certainly some with the private sector, certainly within our task force, we were also guided stuff. I mean, I certainly did, because I said, if you start having drones as traffic wardens trying to issue fines, or if the police with surveillance, immediately the public's going to hate drones. They're going to want to shoot them down. They're going to see them as the enemy, and we're going to lose. You're going to just lose public opinion straight away. So I think it's very good that it's kind of been very much socially focused to what the view will be to the wider public and getting them on board. So, I mean, they'd asked in individual cities, it got feedback. So in my city, 84% of respondents believed that drones would carry out a variety of important functions in the future. Only 60, I say only, but I mean, it was 63% that were actually in support of, 27% opposed, with 10% undecided. But 27% is still, you know, you're looking about, you know, 1 in 4 people, which again, that'll be down to the media. There's no reason to fear drones, but obviously all the stories that we've seen are negative, so that would have fueled that. So there's an understanding that in going forward with this, we have to win over the public. And the approach they want to take, or they've suggested to government to take, is to put out a challenge prize. So to say we've got these 4 or 5 use cases, we know we need technology that can go beyond visual line of sight, that's autonomous, that can deal with loss of radio signal, so that you can maybe fall over onto cellular networks, that's got sense and avoid, it's possibly got artificial intelligence. So what I would expect is there'll be a monetary prize out there, and then companies that have got those skill sets can come forward. So you might have your, you know, you might have your DJIs, you might have, you know, companies, you know, pulling out bits of architecture and pulling people from around the world with different skill sets and putting a bid in. Who knows? But it'll be interesting if we go down that, you know, who comes forward and what technologies they've got. Because I'm not, you know, I do wonder, because in the UK, you know, we haven't got any consumer drone industry. We're all using, and even our commercial industry, we're using a lot of stuff that's off the shelf. So DJI drones and stuff. So I wonder how much we can actually develop of this ourselves. So I have a feeling that this will, you know, go out globally, but I don't know, you know, we'll see when it all comes in, you know, when we go forward and who comes forward, and if that turns out to be the case.
So have there been any actual flights around this, or is it just ideas?
Yeah, this is the first phase. So this was really brainstorming. So it was really collecting ideas of it was thinking, what can we do now? What do we want to do in the future? So it was kind of trying to find something realistic, but then it was saying, we don't just want to do what we can do now with drones, because we already know about that. We need to, you know, take one step further. So the stuff we need to do is a bit more advanced. You know, it's more advanced than anything you could buy off the shelf. So at the moment, there haven't been any flights. The only flights have just been for stuff to engage the public. So there would have been, you know, a few events with licensed pilots where they've, you know, taken some videos, and local authorities have used those and so on. But yeah, so it's been very minor in any activity so far, other than the brainstorming, getting people together, understanding, and also trying to put some costs around this, because if there's going to be investment in this, especially with local authorities, they've also got to argue cost savings. So the fire service has had to say, well, it will save us this much money because we won't have to attend X number of false alarms, X number of people are likely to have their lives saved, and so on. So all that kind of details had to be come up with as well to put kind of a loose business case around it for the individual use cases as well.
Do you think that the sort of forecasts are a little bit more realistic than some of our own industry drone advocates? Yeah, we're going to save 1 million lives and $1 cajillion are all going to be saved. Do you think because you've been working with professionals in whatever the field it is, in your case fire rescue, they're going to come with more realistic expectations and costings and all that sort of thing? Has it been a reality check?
Yeah, I mean, I only glanced the full report, but from what I was seeing there, it looked to me that at the local level, it was a lot more realistic and achievable. Within the report, though, I'm pretty sure it mentioned, I think, was it PricewaterhouseCoopers that did the drone technology could save this tens of millions of pounds, which I think the register, they looked at this and said, wait a minute, that's more than we earn in telecoms in the country. So when you put it like that, I think it was over ambitious that the numbers are coming up with to say in the future. So kind of the headlines that were plonked in with that, I still consider unrealistic. We'd have to see the industry move forward, and we'd have to have AI and that to really have drones giving us the cost savings that they perceived. But certainly for the individual use cases, that detail looked to me all to be credible, especially if you do deliver the technology. If we are beyond visual line of sight, where if things can turn up before real, the land vehicles, then you really have a genuine chance to save money.
Well, this is, of course, is what Thales and all is, and you've just had arrive in the UK in time for Fairford. You've had the Sky Guardian arrive, and that's the alleged. Well, I know the Royal Air Force is going to operate it, but that's what Thales and everybody want to have, big orbits where the fire service will the fire's happening. Oh, Sky Guardian, can you put eyes on it, please? And Thales and the big boys want to sell that data to the fire service, and then now that stops. Now go off and do this. So that's been a pipe dream for years. I'm wondering if that will come into the part of these reports. So I'm moving off topic a little bit. Will come into government's thinking, but I think that is something to watch. Is for large persistent platforms to start arriving in orbits overhead. The all-seeing eye rant over.
Yeah, I mean there was mention, because I'm trying to think ahead as well for other uses. Was thinking rather than just being, as I mentioned, the more proactive you are, the more potential there is to have cost savings. So they're thinking there'll be no buildings that are at risk. So, a site that's storing chemicals, that drones could actually pre-map that site. So really, all key sites of risk are already mapped by a drone. The actual locations of hazardous chemicals and other information like where utilities are that the fire service needs actually already pre-mapped, so that when they turn up to a fire, the fire chief in charge can have a tablet there, and it will already be giving him a map and saying these are areas of risk, and can see where the fire is. So it's that there is the thought of collecting data proactively as well as at the time of an incident.
Yeah, that's a sort of technology connect, really. The technology's there, isn't it? There's nothing to stop them doing that right now. In fact, I wonder why they don't do that right now. It's just obvious, isn't it, really? Yeah, and it should be the company with the dangerous chemicals responsibility to have that map ready in a format that all emergency services can use. I'm ranting on. I'm going off topic. And the comments are going on about the AMA. I will just underline, I think the AMA is a good idea. It's a good thing. You probably should be a member and all that. But to my mind, they really should be telling their members what's going on and being realistic about it. And 336, remember that was something that was put down as a panic effort because the FAA wanted to remove modelers' rights in the past. And what the FAA didn't have in the past was the backing of Google and Facebook and Amazon and all the big money. They weren't there 10 years ago. They're there now, and they are the threat. Sorry, Ian. Just going to that, but
even though obviously I'm a Brit, so this doesn't affect me directly. But one thing that did concern me earlier was the comments of, well, let's separate drones and the other models, because to me that is divide and conquer straight away. The ones we start turning on each other and going, you can have that crap. No, you're a drone flyer. I'm a model flyer. I'm happy and dandy now. And if everyone starts doing that and we turn on ourselves, I think that also backfires. I'd like to see everyone more fighting together, which we don't do enough of. And then the trouble is, we have, even in the UK, we have different groups. So there's numerous commercial groups you can join. So if you're a commercially approved pilot, you can pay your subscription and join various groups. If you're hobbyists, there's a couple of groups you can join as well. So you end up with lots of small groups of a couple of hundred, where really we need everyone grouped together under some sort of single entity that can fight with real numbers, which is a point that was made earlier. So I fully agree with that, but I think we are ourselves helping with the divide and conquer. And there's a lot of vested interest, even on a smaller scale, and that's what always conflicts with people. So if you've got training companies, they want more legislation because that's more time people for training. But then that costs money for the small businesses that want to come in, and if it's going to cost them more, you're going to get more people illegally flying. So there's just so many conflicting interests that it's...
And then you have the professionals that don't want competition from the amateurs doing the race to the bottom that we were discussing a while ago. That's the problem. One of the biggest problems is pros don't want amateurs fighting for the same gigs.
No, they don't. But the problem we still have is we keep legislating and then we're not enforcing it. So I can tell you in the UK, because I've been looking at the figures, in the entire of England for last year, 2 people were prosecuted. So that's 0.00036 of all prosecutions in the country. Nothing.
As the guy that overflew over Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier, one of those.
These are ones from last year, so anything that's done this year is not included in that figure. So it's just
interesting.
2 there.
It's the same in New Zealand. There's been like, I think, 2 or 3 prosecutions, and I think what that points to is the fact that this threat, this danger, this risk is nowhere near as big as the media and all the other sources claim. When you look down to the bits and pieces where there's something actually worth prosecuting, there's bugger all going on out there that really is that much of a threat to the public. It's just the perception created by the media. We're expecting to have all these prosecutions and people locked up, but it's not happening because it's being blown out of proportion.
Yeah, but it's the trouble with all this. It just confuses everything, because at the moment you've got the frustration that people with they're paying for the commercial permissions feel frustrated because someone can not have any and just film the same thing, and they know they're not going to get prosecuted. So it makes you wonder where we can go, because if we legislate, if it's not being enforced, people are just going to continue on behaving as they're behaving anyway. And I think if you ever try and ban drones, I don't think it'll work, because people, it's almost reminds me of the old CB radios, where there's now that many people that by the terms of the law are lawbreakers, but we simply can't deal with them because there's too many numbers. We'd have to build hundreds of new prisons to put everybody in if we're going to say you're breaking the law and we're putting you in a prison for it. So we seem to have allowed to get ourselves in a position where we can't enforce the law, and our only reaction to it is to put in more laws. But the police there on the ground are saying, wait a minute, I could be arresting a sex offender, a motorist that's knocked somebody down, a burglar that's just robbed a house. Oh, you want me to go down to a park where 12-year-olds flying a drone and nick him? It's just not going to happen, which I think was a kind of point you're getting at.
Yeah, there's one way. This is a strategy that I've seen used before. When an authority wants to introduce some really draconian rules that they know would not be accepted by the public or by the group being affected, they first of all bring in some really light-handed rules and they don't enforce them. And then they come back and say, look, these rules are being ignored, we're being abused, we've got this real problem, we need stronger rules. Does this sound familiar? We need stronger rules to control these people because they're out of control. And then they can bring in the more draconian rules that would have initially been completely dismissed because they've proven that there is a problem because people are doing all these bad things because now they're against the rules. So you can use the thin end of the wedge to bring in much harsher regulation than you could do if you just fronted up with that regulation to start with. These people producing the regulations, they're strategists, they know how to do this stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's why we see so little enforcement.
And you don't have what we have here in Europe, which is the EU central unelected government. That if something bad comes along, it came from EU, and we have to comply with it. And that's why we have Brexit, because some guys didn't want to comply with some rules made from some unelected bureaucrats. And what we have here with the drones is a bunch of guys that have no legal representation from any of these interest groups. They have from some kind of organizations around the world that come up with a bunch of rules from their liking.
And that unfortunately here in the UK, despite Brexit, we're adopting effectively laws that are the same as Europe, stuff that's compatible with it to stay aligned, which is unfortunate, because I think everyone does have the frustration that you have unelected legislators in Europe, and Europe can be quite reactionary, and the safety card plays very well there for putting in lots of unnecessary legislation. So I fear that even in the UK with Brexit, that we will never escape that, and we'll have to see how it goes. But I see the frustrations in the US, but I've just got that feeling that anything the US can do badly, we can top and do far worse, and I do fear that's coming.
Yes. Portugal are currently winning in my books.
No. The Danish are still winning.
Oh, the Danish are winning. Oh, okay. Okay.
And the French, where you have to be French to fly in France. It's not exactly that, but it's easier if you're French. At least here we give foreigners 1 month to fly freely.
Yes, but could I fly commercially for 1 month?
I believe so.
Oh, beautiful. Well, there we are. Just find 12 friends, start a company, a month on holiday in Portugal each. Marvelous. That's simples. I just had a quick look for road deaths, and I don't know if this is right or not, because it's just a website I've pulled up. For Safe International Road Travel. And they say there are 3,287 deaths a day worldwide. So that's whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. That's one I just pulled up, but that doesn't seem too unreasonable to me. Worldwide,
I think so.
Yeah. So that's that's the target, drone world. 3,287.
Those are caused by drones, though.
No. It's I'm sure that 3,285 were due because the people were looking at drones.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's probably it. But yeah, the safety, I suppose then quite quickly you turn it around and say, well, look how much good vehicles do. All the people going to school, all the tons and tons of cargo being moved, etc., etc., etc.
I want my Amazon packages to come by a drone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, best we give Amazon the airspace for your Amazon drone package. Then look, he's gone away. Now he's going to answer that. You need that airspace then.
No. I want that airspace reserved for Amazon, so that instead of taking 26 hours to get the package, I'll get it in 25.75.
And this is sort of where a lot of the disconnect is, and this is where I'm sort of on the fence with the UTM, Unified or Unmanned Traffic Management Systems. I can see that air traffic control needs to modernize, and I can see that being part of that. But the race for UTM is to be the controlling authority for that delivery service. So that's why Amazon wants a UTM, because then they're going to route their deliveries 30 seconds faster than pick another company, UPS or something like that.
Have you heard of that rumor that one of the proposals might be to increase from the 400 feet to 600 feet the limit, and raise the manned aviation above that?
Raise manned aviation? Raise manned aviation? What above 2,000 feet? For instance?
No GA below 0.6K.
No, and then commercial will fly between 300 and 600.
Yes, Europe. At least Europe is thinking about that, and it is Europe that has said perhaps that lower boundary will lift, because that is where the bulk of work is going to. Bulk of money in aviation, if you will, is going to be made in that first 1,000 feet, and they've already said maybe but that's they're thinking about 2040 for that. I know very often I've joked with Patrick back when this whole gig started in 2007, 2008, we got the website, there was a USAF report that said there won't be full integration until 2047, and everyone laughed at that. But 2047's marching ever closer, and we're not there yet. So that was the original USAF one, 2047, and the EU's looking at 2040. So we're way out yet for regulations. We're way out.
Or not.
Do we really believe that the skies are going to be filled with delivery drones anytime in the next 3, 4, 5 decades? It's just so impractical.
Come on, Bruce.
It's so unbelievable.
Come on, Bruce.
There will be delivery drones, but there'll be corridors and it'll be business to business. You won't have Amazon dropping packages at your back door with a drone. It's pie in the sky. Honestly, I really believe it is. I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong again. I don't know that I'm wrong on this case, though, because it's just the impracticalities are so enormous.
Come on, Bruce. It will be pie in the sky. It will be peas in the sky. It will be books in the sky.
Oh, yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Well, it's just like this sudden craze for first of all, personal air vehicles, part 103, microlight sort of regulation stuff, and then taxis, urban air. Was it urban air? I've forgotten so many. It's another day, another acronym. Was it urban air vehicles, urban air, something or others? Yeah.
Here's a thought. Why don't they just classify drones to be flown as like 103? Then the whole problem goes away. You can't fly it over built-up areas. Why don't they? That's so simple. Drones are now an aircraft as classified under 103, and you follow all the 103 rules. End of problem. Because a 103 type aircraft can carry more explosives. It can fly. It can do all the things a drone could do, but much better if you're looking from a safety and a security perspective, right? And they say that the usual aviator regulators' response is, oh yes, but people's lives are at stake, so they'll be more careful. Well, no, because if you're talking safety and security, have you not heard of suicide bombers? They don't give a damn about life is cheap if you want to attack an installation or something. So let's treat drones like part 103. No registration required, no license required. You just have to follow a set of guidelines. Away you go.
Yeah, Simon Strickland in the UK. I just want to mention a comment. Simon Strickland in the UK. As a commercial op in the UK, I have a few issues with the new regs and incoming ESA regs, e.g. I'll be able to fly within 5 meters of anyone as long as the flight is at a slow speed, according to draft rules. That's the whole inertia thing, isn't it? The joules of energy, isn't it? Someone must know the answer. Yeah, Bruce does. Look, he's shaking his head.
Yeah, the kinetic energy. Was it 90 joules, 120 joules or something? But I mean, is that the actual flight speed, or is it the potentially maximum? Because I think it's probably the maximum.
Wasn't it 80 joules?
So,
something around there. But I mean, is that the potential capabilities of the craft? So can you take a huge, great craft and fly it slow and still comply, or does it mean that at its maximum speed, the craft must not be able to exceed that energy? I think it's the latter.
Yeah, I was reading the EASA proposal, and I read that too.
Research there mentioning the Cub. Yeah, that is a perfect example of the whole part of droning up a Part 103 aircraft also escapes me a little bit. You might as well just learn to fly and have a lovely something like that. You know, it's why go for all of this. Hey, Jules, don't take it bad. Yes, people still talking about the AMA. What have we done? Oh, look, we've gone 8 minutes over. I suppose that means I should say at this point, does anybody else have anything else that they would like to talk about?
Yes, I saw it on this little website that I go to sometimes, SUAS News or something.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that, yeah.
There was a statement in the thing about aerodynamics, and it was called You Can't Cheat Physics, a rule of guide thumb on aircraft design. And it says, gliders are built to stay afloat as long as possible and glide through the air. The wings are thin and flexible, using wing loading to produce a bit of extra lift. Now, can someone explain how that works? Using wing loading to create extra lift? The reason gliders have long, thin wings is because the ultimate determination of performance is drag. Drag is the one thing that stops you turning all your basically brings you down. Doesn't matter how heavy your craft is, it's the drag that kills its performance. And gliders have long, thin wings because the biggest generation of drag on a wing is the tip. So you make the tip as small as possible, which means the wing has to be as narrow as possible. That gives you greater performance. How does wing loading increase lift?
With blockchain?
Yeah, appreciate it.
Damn, what was I thinking? What was I thinking?
And AI, I expect with AI. I do think you're going to use AI. Yes, I'm sure I'll have a word with our contributor about that. Yes, I did read that, but you know, I'm very generous with what I allow through. Very, very generous.
I saw a new website, new YouTube channel. I believe it had this a few years, and it has recently revamped and bought some fancy scenarios.
Oh yes,
and has some blockchain and artificial intelligence technology on the backgrounds, and some schematics, all driven by CAD technologies. So it's very 21st century.
Yes,
Renderings, huh? You can't beat some good renderings.
Great balloon demonstration. I enjoyed that a lot. It was a good demonstration of power. And if you don't know what we're talking about, I'm going to get that'll be the XJet channel, isn't it, Bruce? That one.
The revamped XJet. It's the revamped XJet. The revamped, because it even has a green screen. Come on, Bruce. Could you pick up another color?
Well, I tried filming the green screen, but it never comes up on the camera. I don't know why is that.
But Bruce has got some great videos that to talk about power, radio power, and it's very good. So pop off to the XJet channel if you haven't seen
RC model reviews.
It's RC model. There we are. I knew I'd get it wrong.
XJet's the Ranty channel. XJet's Ranty.
Oh, okay.
Ranty and fun. RC model reviews. It's information and knowledge.
Oh, there we go. Well, you heard it here.
Well, there's so few videos on it.
I'm glad you said it and not me. And
no, Bruce, my compliments. That last one about the RF power is very well, and you could go one step further and then go. You were on the video transmission. Now go the command and control transmission.
Yep.
So the radio TX and the receivers and how the telemetry works back from the drone or from the model air vehicle to the ground.
Yeah, I'll be doing a lot more on that side of things actually, and as I say, also looking at choosing the right radio frequency band, because now there are so many to choose from. What are the pros and cons? That's my next techie video that'll be coming up pretty shortly.
And moving across the screen, Louis, what's on your workbench at the moment? What's just regulations?
Oh my no regulation, because this week I was caught on the regulations arena, because at the company we have to be aware of this and all the regulations and pay the insurances and all that. But on the autopilot side, we are moving forward for the imminent release of Copter 3.6. We are going to release Candidate 7. We are just about ending the final details from a great release, and it's good to see the community adopting the work that we've been doing, and especially Andrew Trigel, with the small boards, the Kakutis, the Matex, and all that. And people are using and adhering to those boards very, very much.
Wow, we're honoured in the comments. Banny UK is here for the end. Hello, Luke. Cheers. We're off now.
Well, he's pretty quick. He'll be off himself. How fast was he going? 240k? Woo!
Something like that. Yes, it's a very. Yes, he's got a first record in because your name, if it's a first in class, Luke, will stay in the Guinness Book of Records. That's always the thing to do. Be the first person to create the record, even if you're not that he was slow in this case, but even you're super slow at doing whatever it is, because your record will stay in, and then the new one will be alongside it. So always be the first in the Guinness Book of Records. So yes, well done. Very honoured to have you aboard, Luke.
We should get him on the panel one time.
We should have him on the panel if we can. I've met him, and if he can just calm down and not jump around so much.
We could tell us how to make a career out of this drone stuff.
Scary says he could tell us how to make a career out. Scary stuff flying 50k drone at those speeds. I'm sure it was. Yeah, I'm sure it was. And I wonder if you saw, I see they had a chat with a jetpack there as well. So, Louis, what else were we talking about? We were talking about regulations, and some chaps have, even our local FPV flyers have started using Chibios builds on F4 controllers and the ones with the OSDs. And that leads me very nicely onto Nicola. What's on your billboard? What's in your world at the moment there?
Well, at the moment, the Ranger G2, following a few mishaps over the weekend due to a new Volantic stabilization unit, is now resting and waiting for a new spare fuselage. And while that's happening, the Phoenix is actually going to undergo some interesting upgrades for a glider. I am not going to resist, and I'm going to FPV and autopilot that one, but it will be different from what I usually do. So I think that is going to turn out pretty interesting. And I'm going to use a micro APM board. You know, shock to everyone. I know. Yeah, Louis, especially Louis, and that other guy that was developing the Pixhawk too. I can't remember the name. Philip?
Yes, Philip.
Was it? Yeah, Philip. He would have been qualified as well. But you know, micro APMs have been deadly reliable for me and have been working perfectly on a lot of my planes. So I'm gonna keep using them until they, I don't know, die or I just retire.
That's why you have to replace and are waiting for a new fuselage for the plane. Yeah, Nicola. nice going.
That's because, no, actually, the problem was not a micro APM. It was some new Volantic stabilizing unit, which comes with a radio. And that thing had a mind of its own. It managed to reverse the aileron channel before takeoff. The rudder just, it does everything possible not to stay centered. And
well, that's okay, because as long as you move all this, like when you fly a helicopter, as long as you move all the controls all of the time, eventually it'll be right.
Yes, well, you say this like it's a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, it is when you're trying to keep a plane in one piece. Come
on, why do you want to keep a plane in one piece?
It's because irrelevant. It's not a helicopter, obviously.
No.
Yeah.
In the comments, in the comments quickly, Wayne Clem Murphy's asking, is there a list of compatible boards? I think there is somewhere, isn't there, Louis?
Yes, on the autopilot side. On the autopilot side.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, and is it on the Matic board, do we know?
Yeah, the Matic F405 wing. Basically, all the F4s that have 1 megabyte of memory, most of them are already running autopilots.
I'm trying to find it.
The F7s and the F7s. And the F7s are great. You get lots of CPU, and the boards are running idle. So we have.
Yeah, there's two. Yeah, yes, that's right. It's running so fast now that you can do other things on the board. I can't remember what Philip told me what they had one of the main boards doing, as well as, I think it's probably mining Bitcoin as they were going along, something like that. Yes. The rest of the time. And Ian Gates says they're easily flashed F4 boards. Yeah, it is quite easy now. So really, it's the F4s and those little 32-bit boards are the lead-in drug now to to get people into the fold and then move them up the hardware. Oh, what's he holding up there? He's always holding up something, isn't he?
He's one F7 from another pilot partner called CUAV.
And then that's
the super heavy one. I saw it listed on Bangor today. $300.
I don't know. Perhaps.
No, yeah, that's a Tau Lab Sparky 2 that's got it on board. Very old board.
No, but it's very, very good, this one. I'm very impressed with it. And It's running on this test quad that the arms do like this. So let's just say it's not the quality of drone that Bruce likes, but it's great to do testing.
It's vectored thrust, Louis. It's got vectored thrust.
Yeah, vectored thrust.
It's the
but nothing to vector it.
Yeah,
yeah, it's on plane. Ian, just to comment, Ian there. Yes, Ian, it is on the plane. And look at Chris, iForce 2D's video. iForce 2D. Chris, he's got some great videos of how-tos, and his videos were done a little while ago, actually. Now, so things have progressed on even more since then. But they're great videos. And
just one more thing. If all goes according to plan, very soon I'm going to have also the new MyFly Dream Crosswind or Nimbus Pro or whatever the final name is, which should be the closest rival to the Believer that will be available currently in terms of mapping optimizations. So I'm really looking forward to getting that one. And also, as soon as I get that one and get it airborne, I'm going to kick off what I'm going to call my twin tractor month, where I'm going to fly all of my twin tractors and try to post only stuff about them. And I'm going to be testing, pushing further and, higher, depending. So it's going to be interesting.
Oh, excellent. So we can get our pointing fingers ready if you're going further and higher and faster. And yeah, that's right.
Yeah, get those ready. And also the new Volantex Ranger 2400, which a lot of people are waiting impatiently to come out, because this is going to succeed the Ranger X. With
you did it as a stabilization system?
No, I've actually asked Volantex to stop sending me stuff like that, because I'm just gonna throw them in the bin. This is pathetic. But they claim they've sold thousands and nobody's complained, but that was not my experience. It was awful on the ground.
Come on,
it was awful in the air.
They might have sold thousands. They didn't say 1,000 have flown. That's the difference.
Well, I don't know who they sold it to. I haven't seen that thing sold anywhere, but they mentioned some Europe dealers, the American dealers. Somebody's flying them somewhere, and supposedly they're working perfect, but they weren't working perfect for me, hence why they'll be sending a new fuselage for the G2. Otherwise, I'm just not gonna bother, because now it's all crooked and ugly.
Oh dear. So what we learned from you is you're going back to your roots, back to FPV flying using really old stabilization boards. None of this fast review. No.
Yeah. No, actually tried and tested and reliable.
Tried and tested. Oh yes.
Because actually one of those micro APMs has been in my XUAV clouds, and that thing has had, I don't know, probably over 100 hours of cloud chasing without a single problem. And compared to my first generation APM boards, the big ones like 2.5 to 2.8, all of those at some point have manifested some sort of a problem somehow and are now in the trash bin. While these micro APMs have been absolutely solid through crashes, through numerous flights to, larger distances, great heights, fail-safe conditions, you name it, they've done it, and they've come back perfectly every time.
Yeah, the hardware is it's a hard thing. That's why they put the word hard in it. Yes. Right, well, that's good. We shall look forward to all that. And Ian, what's happening in Bradford?
Oh, well, I think we should talk about some controversy.
Oh dear. Go on then.
The A380 Mauritius video that was doing the rounds. I should just put that up so you can.
He always brings paper. Brilliant.
Yes. Did you see that this week?
I did see that. I studiously haven't posted it, and it looks like a real video to me.
Yeah, I mean, I was of the same viewpoints. I mean, I do After Effects myself, and I've done 3D renders with planes. And to me, it looked legit in that you've got the shadow on the runway as it takes off. The only bit that's got people, and I could see it as well myself, around 9 seconds in, if you look down at the water, it isn't moving. Now, whether that's a bit of a optical illusion because of the height it's at, I don't know. But the seconds after that, you can see the water moving. So it's not like it's a 360 photo that's static. There's cars on the road. So no, so I'm opting for it's likely a legit video. But the thing that concerned me with that was it was posted by an A380 pilot trainer from Air France. So he's the first person that there's any evidence of ever posting it to the internet. No explanation. When the media ask him who the pilot was, the video vanishes offline. And yet everyone's already got, oh, it must be a drone pilot. Let's hang the hobbyist again. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. This is an A380. He's an A380 pilot instructor. This A could be a mate of his. B could be he's just done it with a drone anyway. And C, it could even be something that's fabricated. We don't know. The fact is there's more questions than there are answers. But again, there's just so many people that were ready to, blame the hobbyist, let's react. And it's like, well, no, just go to the person that's posted it, send the police round and find out how he's got it. Simple.
The one thing, though, it's a heck of a hand catch, though, isn't it?
What's that?
It's a heck of a hand catch when he brings it back in.
I believe that Bruce has something to say about that video, because it really looks like his new green screen.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, isn't it, that if it was a pilot, and remember the pilots are all anti-drone. We've seen the pilot unions around the world condemning drones, and this pilot just happens to post a video that looks like something really bad done by a drone flyer, and I sort of think, is it a real video? As it could be rendered, it could be I've done a bit of work recently, as probably people have seen, with this compositing and software and so forth, and it is pretty easy to get some realistic looking stuff. And the other thing is, I'm sure I've seen videos of things like Dreamliners and 777s and that taken from aircraft that are even closer to the airliner than that drone was, but no one goes, oh look, there was a chase plane so close to that plane. If that would have been a helicopter sitting there, would there have been as much concern as the fact it was a drone? Even though if an airliner hits a helicopter, it's like curtains for everybody. Airliner hits a drone, we've yet to see any indication or any proof that there's going to be any injuries, let alone deaths or whatever. So it's this whole thing, when I go to an airport and I get in an airplane, I look out the window, I can see dozens of other airplanes, but the pilot doesn't seem to be concerned. Yet if he sees one tiny drone in a park 500 feet below him, all hell breaks loose. This proximity thing, I mean, what's going on here? Why is it that a tiny little drone is such a danger, yet all these other airplanes, that no one cares about them? But if you look at the AirProps reports, all the incidents are between manned aircraft. So it's all skewed. It's all, there's so much lack of reality in this stuff. There's so many agendas and horses being ridden. It's so hard to take any of this stuff seriously.
Yes, and I'm going to add in back to the electronic conspicuity thing for drones. I actually need to put a date on it, but the aircraft that went missing north of me here is still missing. No requirement for electronic conspicuity for light aircraft flying. I can make general aviation a lot safer. And hashtag no.
It had a tail number. I bet it had a tail number.
It did have a tail number. Yeah, it did, exactly. Yes, as they said in America, no GA below 2K. I think that that video, but it hasn't, or has it in the UK? It hasn't gone nuts here in the media. Has it gone nuts in the UK or in the rest of the world? Have you seen it everywhere?
It's gone to, if you will, like to the F stoppers, and it's mainly been blogs, so it's not gone as far, because that my main worry was if the BBC or someone has to pick that up and go with it, it then becomes a big story, and it didn't do. And I mean, that might have been partly for the fact that the pilot decided to pull it and then with no explanation. So maybe people thought, oh, maybe this is questionable. I really don't know, but I am kind of glad it didn't blow out of all proportion, not with the amount of questions that's still there behind it.
I think Bruce is right. It did look exactly like and here's a shot of our of our new 380 or whatever, didn't it? It did look like it could have easily been that, like a helicopter shot or something. But
I still remember that takeoff flight from the Dreamliner 777 that it was demonstrated that he could lift off almost at 90 degrees, and there were lots of air shots from that takeoff.
Yeah.
So any drone could do that. Any drone could have done that with lots of less risk to the 777.
But I think yes, that's also true. But the sort of lack of reaction, or the pressing instant, almost pressing for the truth on it, and what exactly was that about, is perhaps is slightly turning away the media. I mean, one day the media will have had enough of drones. There will have been enough stories, and they'll move on. And then hopefully, with stuff that's happening in cities in the UK with the NESTA Flying High Challenge, as soon as people start having their medicine delivered by, or part of rescue of, or the saving of their house or a friend's house, as soon as that starts becoming a thing, then attitudes, I think the public attitude will change pretty quickly. It won't take many people to hear, oh, they got to his fire quicker because, and all that sort of a thing. We're not far away from that now, and hopefully we can settle down and start earning some real money, and make just be boring, because it'll just be a job. It'll be a hammer in the tool case and the back of the car. Rant ends. Someone else rant.
Are we allowed to rant?
No. Oh no, you're not.
No, you have to go to that New Zealand channel, X Rants Jet, or X Jet Rants.
Yes, in 3D with renderings.
Yeah, and blockchain and AI.
Blockchain and AI. The media need to keep verifying someone else and drones. They are an easy target at the moment, but I'm sure they'll rapidly becoming a boring target. I suppose any technology would be interesting to see. The car with the flag in front, whatever happened with steam engines. Oh, that's right, we weren't going to live, were we? Because we weren't going to be able to breathe at speed and all that sort of thing. I'm sure every technology has this sort of problem when it starts.
Just given me an idea. I might put a little piece of carbon fiber at the front with a flag on it.
Yes,
it goes ahead of the drone. That would be such a safety feature.
Absolutely. And how much will we be selling these devices for?
Because now I don't know if you get why you're laughing, because I remember my first RC cars. They had a huge plastic antenna pole, and we used to stick some little flags with colors to know which car it was. So we used to do that.
But not so you can avoid hitting each other.
Yeah.
The age of steam, Louis? Yeah, I remember.
The age of steam.
Look, we are definitely descending into just ranting mode. So,
rubbing off on you.
So, mate,
when you have a guy, when you have Nicola that is saying that he's going to use micro APMs, every rant is possible.
Yes, and the number confusion. I'm going down that way as well. People are getting confused because knockoff merchants are making version 2.9.7.4 and board 2.6.4.4.1 and 1.9.2.2.4, and people are getting very confused. The 8-bit stuff, as Nicola says, it works. It's great. It's fine. I've 5 or 6 boards myself. It does work, but you're not going to get the latest features. Please, at the minimum, get yourself a Pixel class board.
But then it depends what you expect to do with that thing. Now,
Absolutely.
I don't expect to run huge and long mapping missions. I don't expect to use all of these splits and slices and whatnot and all that auto whatever land and be here and crash
Nicola,
here.
there's only one thing for you: the reliability of the GPS routines has increased dramatically, and if even for that would be a good advantage for you to move that, to throw the APM on the bin.
Maybe
just that work that has been done on the GPS side. We've done a great work on the GPS side.
You must have hundreds of little boards.
I've got some gripe with the newest Pixhawk firmwares and the fact that they they actually feel. I feel like there's AI in there because they scream as if you're gutting them if you decide not to use a compass. And seriously,
no, you don't need a compass for plane.
Yeah,
Planes
you don't. Try
don't
telling the pixel that.
Yes, you can. Just go there and say no compass. That's no problem.
Then I just keep seeing that.
I don't need a compass. It's easy.
Yeah.
How hard was that?
Now plug it in and see if it reads. No, I'm just gonna keep using the micro APMs for certain applications. Of course, the crosswind is going to get a pixel, not a micro APM, but.
Oh.
Yeah, he's on 8 bits. That's why. Sorry, Nicola. You are going to see this afterwards. Sorry. You ran out of bits.
You ran out of bits there, Nicola. Your 8-bitness caught up with you.
No. My Wi-Fi card on the laptop is acting up from time to time.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it's 64-bit.
Oh, coming soon. All right, no, come on, really, let's put the hammer down on this one this time. Thank you very much, dear viewer, wherever you might be in the world, for putting up with us ranting and talking nonsense. I think it is time, if you're in America, to start paying attention to the news and see what's being done in your name in the background and hold the AMA's feet to the fire. Even if they tell you you're wrong, that's fine. They've got to say something, and that means they know you're paying attention. So please do that in America. You don't want to lose 336, and you don't want to start the trend for the rest of us. Just being selfish. Well, everybody that's joined, thank you very, very much indeed, chaps. It's been a good one. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. I hope you have safe and fruitful weeks, and happy flying if you're flying at the weekends. See you all next week, 2100 GMT, all the normal stuff. Cheers, everybody. Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.